All right. Good morning, everybody. First live show since end of April. Chuck, Stacy, Michelle, Carstensen team, Remax results. We are all here or in various areas. Michelle, I think, is in the parking lot in small town Minnesota. Must have appointments up that way, I'm assuming. And Stacy, is that your dogs barking?
Yeah, my kids are upstairs. Hold on. Let me step away for a second and go put them away.
Well, I'm just saying, like, are you at a dog kennel? I was trying to pinpoint your location.
But your kids
No.
away or your dogs?
Oh, yeah, I'll put my kids away and let my dogs be. The little puppy, he likes attention, and so he's the only one that really barks consistently in my house. He just wants to play with the other dogs, and if they don't give him the attention he wants, he barks at them. So it's like, come on, dog. So we'll see if maybe he might be coming down to join me. We'll see. I might step away and put him away if I need to. I will. I'll do that. I'll be right back.
All right. We're removing Stacy from the stream. So that'll be me and Michelle for a couple minutes. So this is our 20th show of the What's Happening in Minnesota Real Estate show that started way back over a year, about probably 14 months ago now. And lately last 2-3 months haven't done a lot of shows because real estate's busy. Our schedules are different. Michelle just had AJ graduate, so that was a busy week for her. We got Chase graduating this week, so it's kind of like, how do we get all this stuff done? And that's part of what's going on. Plus, with everything happening in real estate and anything else we're doing, it makes it a little bit more challenging. So people like to know the personal stuff sometimes, Michelle. You made it through graduation, though.
I did. Now I'm empty nester, and I don't have all the sports you have going on. So our tables have now turned. I used to be a couple years ago, where I couldn't be on the shows or was running in circles because of all the stuff you have going on. So now, like, I'm free. Everyone can just call me and I'll just help you. So.
Call Michelle. That's good. And yeah, I still, little guy Lucas, our third grader, he's got 2 more days. We're still in school in Cambridge yet. He's got 2 more days of school left. He was in spring basketball that ended Sunday, and we still got baseball. We're in the middle of the baseball season. It's only got till the end of June, and then I'm sure we'll get him in some of the camps we're ready to sign him up for. So we'll stay busy with that. Samantha still got travel soccer, so that keeps us busy, and you know, that kids keep you busy, as many of you probably know. Mm-hmm. Stacy's back.
Yep. He all of a sudden, have you ever heard of dogs having the zoomies? Like, it's a real thing. Like, they like sit there and they like run in circles. It's called the zoomies. So he decided to have the zoomies when I was trying to put him away. Oh, puppies.
That's too fun. All right. So I got to go step away for a minute. Now you guys talk. See if you can carry the show. I won't know what's going on. I lost my phone
I'm just
somewhere.
in a parking lot in a small town, and you just keep leaving. I guess you got to go to a parking lot.
Nice. Michelle, what are you showing this morning?
I have a listing appointment, and I'm in Gray Eagle, Minnesota. So I see the water tower from here, and the town is under construction. But I do have 2 bars of service. So
perfect.
But we'll see. So I drove up here, got an appointment, and then I'm working on my Florida license. So we will soon be able to help people in Florida. And obviously we already know we can help people in Minnesota and Wisconsin. So we'll have 3 states. So that's when I get home and keep working on that. I'm doing that. So
is there rules and stuff like that similar to Minnesota licensing? Or is it kind of like some stuff far out?
I'm not taking notes. So I think it's a lot of the same. The words are different. So it's like a different language. So if we're talking about that we just have like buyers and sellers, and there they call it different things. So I get confused with that. Like, I'll be reading, I'm like, this is the same thing, just different words.
Yeah.
So I just have to remember what that means. But otherwise, basically, it's the same. And I know when Chuck took Wisconsin, it's pretty much the same. I mean, the paperwork's pretty much the same, just all worded differently. So
sure.
Just got to get through that.
Well, I mean, I kind of feel left out, so I should probably get my license somewhere else too.
You should.
I
don't know. Iowa.
South Dakota, North Dakota.
Totally
Yeah.
teasing.
I
We
don't know.
did
We're
have
kind
our first Wisconsin closing on Friday, so that's good.
nice. That's awesome. Cool.
And I've had a couple people refer me Wisconsin people, so that's good. They know
Yeah.
it's like Facebook. They're like, "Oh, you're licensed in Wisconsin." I'm like, "Oh, you saw that post from like 3 months ago?" It's pretty crazy. People know
Yeah.
what you're doing. They're watching you on Facebook.
That's good.
They're watching us right now or will watch us later, I'm assuming. So reminder, you can always comment below with your real estate questions. No question is, even if somebody asked it, last year, it's fine. It's the new year and it's your question and it's your specific question. Also today, we're going to be talking about our top 3 list for conversation points. No guests today besides us, but top 3, what buyer agents maybe aren't doing the right way to help their buyers. Something this could help agents out there. This could help other buyers working with other agents. Not that we would want you to work with other agents, but we just know there's all these people out there, and you might stumble on the show and you have a different agent, and that might help you help them, which probably is weird to say. But and then top 3 things buyers can do to get homes. We've talked about a couple of these before. A couple of them probably are slightly different than before. It's just it's a tough market for buyers. Somebody might say, "Oh, the real estate market, great." Yeah, it is pretty great for sellers. There's some limitations there, but for buyers, for realtors, mostly helping buyers, it's not too fun. Stacy, is it a fun market?
It's hard. I'm gonna say it's difficult and it has its challenges. It's more difficult than it hasn't been in previous years. I'm not gonna say it's not fun because it's still an exciting thing for buyers to go out there and be looking at homes and putting in offers. Does it get stressful on some of them? Yep, absolutely it does. But as long as we as agents talk to them about the ups and downs of the market and we're transparent and tell them, I just want you to know this is, you have a strong offer. However, there are 12 other offers that could be just as strong as ours or not. So I like to kind of remind people, especially in this market, home buying is an emotional thing, and to kind of not have your emotions play a role in if you don't get the home, because the sellers on the other side, they're looking at it as a business transaction, not necessarily an emotional transaction, which some people, some people do still use it as an emotional transaction, but I always tell them, don't your offer was strong, your offer was good, but someone had another offer and it's a business transaction. It's not an emotional, personal transaction.
I think sellers are emotional. However,
oh, for sure.
Put yourself in the seller's shoes. They want the offer that looks the best. And
correct.
And that's what we're going to talk about, like top 3 things. And we each might have slightly different things. It might become top 5 things that buyers can do when trying to get an offer. Michelle, any feedback on your end on working with buyers? Because you're having some pretty good luck overall getting the buyer offers accepted more often than not. I should say success, not luck. You're having pretty good success.
Yeah.
You just gotta be a little louder.
Yeah. Am I cutting up? Okay. Because I feel like I'm cutting.
Your volume's low.
It's all the way up. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I've actually been having pretty good luck the last couple of weeks. It has been super hard, but I think I'm working with people that are on properties that are overpriced. Wow, there's overpriced properties out there.
Yeah. In this market.
So we're actually, I just got one today that was under the price. So people overprice their properties, and that can happen. And you can actually offer lower. I just did a live this week on that, where I think there's a little shift here. I could be the only one here thinking that, because there's too much going on in people's lives, and there's a little shift where that doesn't mean there's not multiple offers. Because I know on some of the properties I've contacted realtors on, if it's still for sale, like, no, they already have multiple offers sold, but the MLS was down. So, over the weekend, most people don't know that it was down. So
it's still down.
Like on the market.
There's literally been like 3 listings coming on the market in the last 5 days.
I was thinking the one in Osakis, man, way to go. Way to get in there and get on there in Osakis.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
I kind of heard what you guys said, so hopefully you'll hear. It keeps cracking up. But what I was saying is like I haven't had a lot of challenges lately, but previously, yeah, I mean it's just about getting your buyers ahead of the game. And I tell them, you know, you're gonna make 5 to 8 offers before we get one. And then they know that and they're like, oh shoot, we made it to 7 and we got one. Yeah. So it's just more of making them understand that what the market is right now. Sellers are just gonna sell their house no matter what. So like you gotta prep them to like this is going to happen and this is what happens. And then when they want to get an inspection, like if they have multiple offers, they're not going to repair anything that's not major. Like we just prep them for that. And I think that helps them not be so emotionally attached to every house and probably make offers on houses at the beginning that they're not obsessed with because then they get that out of their system.
A lot of good
for
points.
one that comes on that they really like.
Yeah. A lot of good points. I think it's just, you know, I think what I'd say, what you're saying is spot on. It's also that you can't get too high and too low. I mean, I guess you can get high and celebrate once you get a house, but you don't want to get too low. Like, oh my God, we didn't get this house and this is horrible. So I think one of the things that is happening a little bit, at least from what I'm hearing, not a whole lot of the people we're working with, but I'm sure there's been a couple this year where they're just like discouraged and they're basically, I'm done, I'm out of the market. So I think that's happening, but I think setting expectations up front can change that, like Michelle and Stacy were saying. So what are the top 3? And maybe each of you have a top 3 list and we'll have 5 or 6 ideas, but top 3 things you would tell your buyers to do to get an offer now. Like if a buyer is going to be in a multiple offer situation, or maybe even not in a multiple offer situation, just the best way to get an offer right now so you don't get in a multiple offer situation. What would be your top 3 things to advise them? Stacy, what do you got? Give us at least one. We'll go around the rob.
Okay, I got 2. So I said going strong to start. Don't kind of be willy-nilly. Just, you know what, give your best offer to start and do what you need, what you feel is right for you at that moment.
That's on my list as well. Yep. Make your best offer right away. Because sometimes that first offer, they might be, oh, that's good. And
let's just take it.
Yeah, let's be done.
Yep.
Michelle, what's on your list? Top 3.
Can you hear
me? Go again.
The thing that I've been luck with. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? The thing that I've had the most luck. No, you can't hear me. It's in and out. Sometimes I can hear you. Okay, go. Appraisal clause. Even if it's $2,500, you got to put an appraisal clause in there because the sellers feel like they're going to get $2,500 over the appraisal no matter what without arguing with you. So
what we're saying an appraisal clause is if you're getting a loan, the loan, it has to appraise for the price. And some of these houses are getting bid up. Well, most of them are getting bid up. And then the worry is, oh yeah, it got bid up $25,000, but what's it really going to appraise for? Because as a realtor helping a seller, you know, when I sit down with somebody, I go through the comparables, like here's about where it's going to appraise. Now you could get more, but then the appraiser might say, no, it's not worth more. So if you have an appraisal clause, like Michelle said, 2,500 over, obviously 5,000 over, obviously 10. I've even had people write in, other agents on my listing, like 20,000 over. So then the seller feels pretty good. Okay, yep, it's going to appraise for 350. You paid 380. We know for sure we get 370 then, or whatever, because you're like, we think it's a good for 350. You're trying to pay us 380. We're good at 370. We'll take your offer. And that's one very strong way to get the seller to take your offer as a buyer. And obviously on the best offer thing, there's situations, whether we've had buyers or we've had sellers, some of them don't want to have showings all weekend. They got nowhere to go, or they got kids, or they got puppies. They just want to be back home. Okay, we thought we were going to get this. You gave us this. We'll just go with it. Then you're done. That was Stacy's point. So the other thing I'd say is find out the seller's hot buttons. That's basically, you know, your buyer's agent do some research. What's their ideal closing date? They might have a closing date they're trying to hit. oh yeah, we can match the closing date. One big hot button is no home inspection. We don't recommend no home inspection, but it's almost like a necessary thing to do in multiple offers. That's typically what's happening. Poor home inspector guys are sitting around bored. We should probably invite them on the show now. And we lost Michelle. So that's the thing. But the seller hot buttons could be even something way different than what I just said. Have you ran into any seller hot buttons, Stacy, that you can think of that aren't closing date, no home inspection, something?
No, nothing like unique or out of the ordinary. I guess when it comes to the home inspections, one thing that I've been encouraging my buyers to do is if they're still pretty adamant about doing a home inspection, I say, okay, let's do a home inspection, but let's do it as a pass fail, and let's write it in there that we're going to do a home inspection still. It's a pass fail. We will not be asking for repairs or anything like that. So then the buyer is a little bit more comfortable knowing that, like, if they go in and there's like a huge structural issue, I mean, that's a fail, and they can get out of the contract knowing that this house is not structurally sound. So they just are a little bit more comfortable with doing it as a pass fail. And I've gotten some offers through with home inspections with that pass fail and the notations written in the purchase agreement. So I think it makes everyone a little bit more comfortable. I mean, and down the road, I mean, an inspection, it not only helps the buyer, it's helping that seller down the road too, where if something were to come up in arbitration down the road, like that's a big deal and a big stressor on sellers and buyers if something comes up that they thought the seller should have known about and it wasn't noted and stuff like that. So that's a whole nother show though.
Yeah, and a seller would take that pass fail offer because they're like, "Oh no, we're not going to fail." Fail. Like the confusion on inspections, just to clarify, aren't really pass fail. There is like, oh my God, there's structural issues, but I'll have somebody. We're not going to fail inspection. Well, a buyer technically can pull out for any reason, like they think they get cold feet and pull out. So that would be a reason maybe a seller doesn't like the inspection. I think a lot of sellers aren't worried about their house. So we're kind of doing devil's advocate on this. It's just like, well, if somebody gets cold feet, now we got to show it to 20 people again. So I'd rather just go with the no inspection offer. I had that this weekend on one of my listings where the seller could have maybe got a little bit more, but they're like, no inspection. Then we know that we don't have to, all of a sudden they get cold feet back out and then we have to show it again. They didn't want to do that. So that's a reason why sellers go with that. Michelle, well, we lost you. We talked obviously about the appraisal clause, best offer right away, finding the seller's hot buttons, which normally no inspection or ideal closing date. Anything we might have missed on the top 3 list that you'd add if you had your own list that are those the top 3?
Let me think. If you do earnest money strong right away, that helps. I mean, if you're going to put 5% down and that's $30,000 or whatever it is, then just put the earnest money at $15,000. I mean, if you're going to put it down anyway, there's very few chances you're not going to get your earnest money back through the contingencies. So you'll know by the time you need to get it back, if you need to get it back. The rest is going to your down payment anyway. So.
Yeah, good point. We had an offer on a listing of ours maybe a week and a half ago that the people put $500 earnest money and everything else was fine with the sellers. And they didn't even mention that, like, we should ask for more or earnest money. And then one of the questions the sellers had, well, this is the offer. We're fine with the offer. Closing date's fine. The other hot buttons. I'm like, well, it's good to actually counter something, because if they are somebody who'd get cold feet and we counter and say, hey, $2,500 earnest money, something solid like that, and then they pull out, well, we know we didn't want to mess with them anyway. That's good to get rid of them now. So that would have been a situation to counter. So that was, I thought, a little strange. We got an offer at $500 earnest money, but I think we did counter higher and they accepted it and we're moving forward and everything's good. So, if you have questions on that, please let us know. Let's see. We got maybe one comment. Okay. Somebody's watching us. Thanks for watching us, Lori. All right. So top 3 things that buyers agents could do better that you're noticing? And I think some of my list ties into what we just talked about. And what I mean by that, from my perspective, helping sellers, I notice things that, geez, buyers agents should be doing better. And I know a lot of people are floating around with agents that maybe just don't have enough experience. They like the people, they're their friends, their relatives, whatever it is. And sometimes, unfortunately, the buyer has to give the buyer's agent advice because they want to work with them. And there might be agents. So there's so this goes on a podcast. People who watched this before know we do this video. It's on YouTube, goes on the Real Life Impact podcast. And I noticed we haven't done the show for a while, and these aren't huge numbers. So if somebody's like, "Oh, that seems low," this is better than before because of our last show not being for a while. There was 75 downloads compared to 45, 50. I'll just throw our numbers out there. But anyway, I'm guessing they're not mom and dad, although mom and dad normally watch this. They're actually probably real estate agents listening to what other real estate agents are doing podcasting wise. So why I'm putting this in there is probably most of our podcast audience, or at least half of them, I wouldn't doubt, are other real estate agents. Oh, what are these people doing? Let's see what they talk about. And so top 3 things buyers agents could do better to help sellers. I had number 1, which goes with what Stacy went, waiting for multiple offers. It's so funny, guys. On my listings, there's so many times people say, yeah, they're thinking about it. They're going to make an offer. And every once in a while, like I said, I'll have a seller that just wants to be done, gets a good, strong offer. And these other people, and if I looked up their numbers, I'm sure they're not that great, are not helping their buyer get the house. And I'm just like, wow, wow, like your buyers probably want the house and what are you doing? So agents don't wait to get the offers in. Go ahead, Michelle.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, they wait and they get the offers in, or they have no idea what an appraisal clause is. They have no idea that they can check that you're getting an inspection, but it's not contingent on the sale, contingent on purchasing the property. There's just so many things that I ran into this recently with a listing that they didn't even know they could do, let alone help their buyer do that. So exactly what you're saying, there's super inexperienced people, or there's some brokers out there that are telling them that you should make sure they get an inspection so you don't get sued and all this stuff. I do not tell people not to get an inspection. If they don't want to get an inspection, that's their choice. This has nothing to do with me. So I just think like, wow, like the things that they don't even know is like beyond my like thoughts. And then I think like, the other thing is we do work with buyers and sellers on the same purchase as dual agency, right? And we still respect all our boundaries and everything like that. But I feel like there's people that are out there looking just for the listing agent and not realizing that the listing agent cannot be your agent. They cannot. And we do it on both sides, so we understand, but they cannot be your agent and they cannot tell you what to do. They cannot. So it's like,
well, I think what you're saying in
my
dual agency, there's information we got to keep confidential. We can't negotiate more or less for one or the other parties. And yeah, a lot of not a lot, every once in a while, a few of our online calls are like, I just want to deal with the listing agent, which isn't going to help you if it's a house that's going to get 17 offers, 7 offers, 2 offers, because typically those people that call us that way want something that would be not on our top 3 not to do list. And then we're like, oh, you sound like, like somebody who's going to be difficult, and it won't even be our buyer. Like, oh, this agent is really good. They wrote the clean offer with the top 3 buyer list, and they did the top 3 things right that if we'd recommend agents, we like this offer. And our sellers, a lot of times, are people who've bought and sold before. So they also get a feel for, God, that's just kind of weird. Why are they doing this? And yeah, I don't know. It's weird. It's weird. I guess that scares you from taking that offer, right? One other thing I had to list, and you guys chime in or comment on this, on top 3 things agents aren't doing, is not from the very beginning explaining the market. I think we get a lot of showings on listings, and every agent can say this. And I think some realtors are literally like, hey, somebody wants to see a house. Let's go show the house. And then they don't explain, like, oh, it's going to be sold 5 minutes from now, tomorrow, it's going to get bid up. And they're showing houses for fun. There's one brokerage in particular that every time I see that they're showing my house, I'm like, this is not going to be a sale. So like, don't get excited about this. They're not even going to give us feedback. So you're not even going to know. And I'll guarantee there's not going to be a feedback or an offer from this brokerage. I'll just put it that way. I'll guarantee there's not going to be feedback or an offer from this brokerage. So I think they're just running people around for the fun of it. And you should, if you're a realtor, you should be explaining the market to your people. But if you don't have experience, it does make it tougher, right? Thoughts on this, guys?
Right.
You
I mean,
kind of know what I'm talking about.
I have buyers that I've had buyers that I've talked to that maybe even were referrals from other people, and the type of loan they're getting with the type of down payment they have with the closing costs. I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll show it to you. As long as there's no offers, we might be able to get one through. And then they understand because they're like, oh my gosh, yeah, I'm going to have to keep renting. I'm not going to get a home in this market. No, you're not. Like, unless you're willing to pay them $20,000 over to cover your closing costs and somehow they accept your 3% down payment, you're going to have to wait here. You're going to have to wait it out for a couple months. It just is what it is. Like, I will keep showing you houses. You will keep getting sad. And by the 6th house, they're like, why are we getting these? Which I already told them. They already know. And they're like, yeah, we'll just keep renting. We understand. Like, save up your money. Maybe the market will change in a couple months. Like, save your money so you can have enough money to pay closing costs. Like, if I can give anyone advice, save up your money to have the 5% down payment, 3.5% down payment, and the closing costs so you can buy a house. Sellers are not paying closing costs in 90 to 95% of the deals. They're not. They're not. So
Sometimes you can get them through. Sometimes.
but
Yeah.
not in the areas that these people are looking at.
Sure.
So, I mean, outskirts in Gray Eagle, Minnesota.
Yeah.
Probably.
That's true. I mean, yeah, it's hard for some people. I've gotten a few through with I've found a couple of like for sale by owners or like stuff like that, and then you can kind of get them through a little bit better. But I mean, that's kind of the angle that you have to look for some of these people that have difficult loans and are trying to get home. So
yeah,
it's
and
hard.
Is the agent you're working with literally going online? I have for sale by owners set up to go to my email, so I get about 30 for sale by owners a day, like in the whole state of Minnesota, and I'm like literally looking at every single one, make sure I don't have a buyer for that one. Because
Yeah.
is your agent out looking for you, or are they just waiting for you to call them? You know?
Yep, exactly. Yeah. Good point.
I do it perfectly at all, because there's probably some places where I miss that because oh shoot, I have this one and this one. But are they actually looking for you to get a home, or are they just, at
Waiting? Yep. I agree. Yep.
Yeah, and if you have that situation where you need down payment, where you need our closing costs, depending on income, credit, there are programs for you. And then you might just be with the wrong lender who doesn't like to do those programs. And you got to get to the lender who can get you the grant funds so you don't have to ask for closing costs. And yes, it's still a long shot of giving a house. You're probably going to have to look at something that other people are like, it's a little high, meaning you have to overpay for the house. But remember, every house that's good, getting bid up 10, 20, 30, 40,000. And technically those buyers are overpaying. So either overpay at the price or overpay at the bid up. And overpaying is relative to supply and demand. So if the people are buying the houses at this price, once they're closed, they no longer have overpaid. It has just raised the market to that. And that's why there's a lot of appreciation. So then one thing I have on my list for agents is thinking the market's going to go down in 6 months or a year. You're probably never going to sell a house. Now, if you 100% knew with 100% certainty the market's going to go down 30% in a year, should you sell the people the house if they're like, hey, is the market going to go down? You should tell them, hey, I'm pretty sure the market's going to go down 30%. Now, this is not where I'm at with this as far as me thinking that. You'd have to understand supply and demand, economics, a little bit, and then like, okay, the market's not gonna crash down at all. I've told this like on 10 of the shows I probably mentioned, I don't think the market's gonna see big dip to like 2030 something, like literally 10 plus years. Could there be little waves where it goes down? Yes, we've talked about this part before. But there are realtors thinking, oh, I think the market's going to go down. You're probably never going to sell a house because you already feel bad about the market's going to go down. How many of you out there, literally 95% of realtors thought other than me, I never thought it was going to go down. And you guys, I probably had to convince you last year it wasn't going to go down. It went up way more than I thought, though. Last year, 95% of realtors or 90% thought the market was going to go down when COVID hit. And that was one reason. There was about 6-7 weeks where there wasn't as much business. Also, the shutdowns probably didn't help.
Yeah.
But if you, as a realtor, think the market's going to go way down, you're never going to get somebody a house. And you're not going to be good at explaining to people that, hey, the market's not going to go down, because you're going to agree, yep, the market's going to go down. I'm going to be sad. And you're going to be really sad about it. Yes, you should explain, if somebody's going to live there 2 years, that the market probably can't go up a ton in the next 2 years because it jumped up so much in the last year and a half, that if you're buying it to flip it, unless it needs work, you know, and you can put some equity into it, you might not get equity out of it. It might be relatively flat sometime in the next year or two, where it's not going to be big equity gains like the last several years. But we don't see the market actually crashing. And if we did, me as a person of integrity would want to tell the buyers this, like, hey, you know, it might go down a little bit, and here's why. But then you have to weigh the differences anyway, which would be every once in a while help somebody rent a property. Rents are super high now. So do you want to rent for X amount, or do you want to buy and just be like, okay, it's better than the rental? There's so many things to consider that even if we thought the market was going to go down 5 or 10%, that it still might make sense to buy. But we don't think the market's actually going to go down. There's just too much. There's like still 1 million units short of inventory in the United States. Obviously, the interest rates are still low. Obviously, there's people that are looking for a home. Obviously, the rents are super high. And part of the reason the rents are high, some of the landlords that had to deal with terrible renters are done with the onesie-twosie rentals. They're selling them. Some of the other reason is there probably are some people out there that have been advised or thought in their own heart that the market's going to go down. Let's rent for a year and we'll buy when the market goes down. But what you pay for rent and what you can get for rent is not great right now. You're better off buying a house, unless you're like, hey, I'm going to move to Florida in a year. Then you might want to rent and just move to Florida next year, or buy a house in Florida last year when the prices were 25% less.
Last year, yeah, not so much this year.
But I get it. It's tricky. So that's where you just have to have somebody who's got a lot of experience, who looks at all markets, who studies the market and those kind of things. And that's tough. That's going to be tough if you have a realtor who's not very experienced. And it happens all the time. There was times when we weren't experienced and we had to ask questions. When I did the first Wisconsin sale, even that Michelle said, hey, it's kind of similar, paperwork similar. The Wisconsin paperwork to me just seemed way different initially until I like dove into it. And it took me a while, even though I've been doing this forever, to go through the forms. And then I even asked the agent, hey, I might have done a couple things a little bit wrong. I just was upfront based on what you normally do in your normal practices of the boxes you check. And, you know, just let me know, and just let you know this is my first Wisconsin offer in case I check something that seems weird because I'm from Minnesota.
Didn't know. Yeah.
I actually said that. And then, you know, she let me know what she thought was different, and she wasn't the nicest lady, but whatever, we got through it. So then it makes me think, like, sometimes I'm not the nicest guy either. Like, I shouldn't do that.
But you were asking for like feedback and constructive like feedback. So like, if someone were to say that to me, I'd be like, oh yeah, this is what you should have done differently. But
yeah, I think she was a tiny bit nicer just because I did that. But on the scale of niceness, there's every once in a while I'm sure there's a couple realtors out there that think I'm a total jerk because I'll be, you know, not nice a couple times. But, you know, 99.9% of times I are. Michelle is super really good at always being, you know, right on professional. She's frozen in time too.
Yeah, it's funny. At least she's smiling.
I still removed her.
That's funny. Yeah.
Did you have anything to add for agents, Stacy?
I don't think so. I think that all sounds pretty, right on and stuff like that. I guess the one thing is maybe like they're not always, and they don't have to call for multiple offers. Like they don't have to call for highest and best. But like I will notice that emails and stuff will come through when they do, and that's good. But yeah, I mean, just preparing your buyers that they don't have to call for that. Because then they're not mad at the seller's agent. Like, why didn't they call for highest and best? They should have. And well, they don't have to.
Nope, you should have. You should have made your best offer right away if your buyer like that.
Correct.
That would be my advice.
Yep. And that's a conversation I had with some new buyers this past weekend. Was do they have to? And nope, just going strong right away. It's kind of my best
and the
advice.
strangest thing about that, I think what happens is we're busy. Me and Michelle up front, we're talking while you went to do the dogs, like how busy are graduations, coaching kids in baseball, going to the other kids' events, whatever it is. And I think a lot of it, even that I would argue I do more than most people. I have more on my plate than most people. But if somebody wants to make an offer, it's like, boom, let's do it. Of course, we have Esther. So we're like, Esther, here's what you need to do. And she gets it going, right? So that does help. But a lot of people realtors will be like, their distractions, whether it's going to the kids' stuff or doing their whatever that we all have, we have to put our clients first, not the distractions first. I think they put the distractions first and like, we'll get back to the call for highest and best. And then the times they don't, it's like, we're mad at the agent, the seller's agent, the sellers who took the offer. It's like, no, like your distractions are secondary to representing your client. You got to figure out a way to make it work. So obviously that's why it helps to have a team, and we can say, Esther, here, help us out right now.
Yeah. One thing that I've tried to get in the habit of doing is either I have an iPad Pro, so like a bigger iPad that has a keyboard and I can write offers up on it. I try and at least either have that or my laptop in my car, like especially now in this market. Like, I mean, when we're driving an hour plus to show a house and they want to put an offer in, and I'm still an hour plus from my house or a computer, but they want to put the offer in right away. That way I can just stop somewhere, type it up really quick, send it to them. Or if it's not the weekend, I'll have Esther help me out. Just trying to get in the habit of getting it done right away. So then if I do get home and I do have those distractions that I do have to run kids to games, at least I know that my client's offer is submitted prior to going to a game. So then I don't have those distractions too. Because it can be stressful. Like, I don't like it. Like, I don't like getting home and like, be quiet. I got to do this and this and this. And now we have to run out the door and what's for dinner. And it's just, it's crazy. So, yeah.
What do you got, Michelle? You're back on. You're not frozen in time.
My phone was on fire. So, can you hear me? No.
A little bit.
Yeah.
I was saying my phone was on fire. Was on fire and shut down. So.
Oh, okay. Too hot in your car. You should be running your vehicle, not sitting in the heat. And also, Michelle passes out in live
right.
video.
Can't help her. She's in Gray Eagle. Like, call the cops, I guess.
Blonde woman passes out in her car during Facebook show.
That's funny.
All right, so we were going to talk about weird situations, then we talked about weird situations that maybe we shouldn't talk about weird situations. So I don't know if we're going to talk about the weird situations we ran into.
I can say one that's like weird, but not like specific to anyone.
Go for it.
But I think in this market right now, a lot of people are agent hopping, and it's happened to me a few times this year where they've kind of, connected with us and we've been helping them out, and then all of a sudden they've hopped to someone else. So I don't know if maybe people just aren't understanding the way that it kind of works as far as contracts or working with an agent, or if they're just like impatient and they're thinking that we're not getting back to them quick enough, even though like I don't know, 20 minutes is, I think, a reasonable amount. I mean, usually they say within 24 hours you're supposed to return a phone call. Obviously, that's different in this market, and you wouldn't never wait 24 hours. But people just kind of not be having the patience and just hopping around, and then maybe getting disappointed with the agent that they got stuck with after hopping from us, and then calling us back and asking for us for help. Well, when you're already in a contract, you're kind of stuck with that person unless you break your contract.
Well, I think a lot of people don't get it, and people go
Yeah.
online. And I think the biggest thing, statistically, over time, things have sped up. So if we have somebody who is a new contact that comes into us, we're actually supposed to talk to them right away or within 5 minutes. If you get past 5 minutes to 10 minutes, it's literally 50% less chance of connecting with them. That's literally how fast the world moves as on a mastermind group. So 20 minutes no longer is good enough. You literally went down like you went down like 200% less chance of making that contact, somebody who works with you. So it's got to be less than 5 minutes, or it's got to be, or it just goes way, way down. And obviously, yeah, some people are impatient. I do notice like a lot of people click on the homes that are already sold. So I think those people have realtors and like, oh, my realtor didn't tell me about this one. No, because it was sold, you know, that's why. So that's something that just people need to be aware of as far as situations you run into as a buyer. There's a lot of properties that, for whatever reason, don't reflect they're sold, or they have multiple offers that were due yesterday, or multiple offers due today at noon, and it's whatever 10 o'clock. Are you going to get out there and make an offer right away? No, I don't have my pre-approval. We still do get calls for people like, hey, I want to see a house. I'm not pre-approved, and it's just challenging to why would we show it? Why would we not show it? Well, it'll be sold tomorrow, or let's say it's not a sellable place, it's overpriced. In our years of doing this, many times that person not ready at all to buy a house. They're like, I don't know, they thought it'd be a cool thing to look at a house. So that's why realtors get you pre-approved. A, not going into a house that's already going to be sold. B, not making the sellers leave their house for you just to be looking for fun. And C, you know, we talked about before, we are busy. We want to help the people who are ready to go and do our best for the people who are ready to go. And we can help the other people get ready to go. But if we're helping somebody who's not ready, it could cause it to be harder to help somebody who's ready. So it's just priorities, which obviously we work on putting in order so we can do our best for the people ready to go, and secondarily get the people ready to go that aren't quite ready to go. And it's just something that, you know, a lot of people don't know or understand or think, why would they do that? But that's really why we do it. There's a lot going on, and you know, why would we?
Also, in the peak of the coronavirus, too, sellers didn't want people that were just looking to look. They wanted only people that were pre-approved. I mean, and that's still kind of true for some sellers, depending on how they're looking at people coming into their homes. They don't want just anyone and every single person that wants to just, oh, it's the weekend, I'm kind of bored, let's go look at houses. They want to make sure that they're serious buyers and they're actually coming in to maybe purchase the house. So that's another thing I kind of remind people of. I'm like, I mean, some people are still considering it being a pandemic right now, even though a lot of restrictions and stuff is taken down and open. They still don't want people just wandering around their house without being ready and being able to purchase.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I got to run.
Yep. We're going to end the
drive
show,
safe.
Michelle, in a couple minutes. Bye, Michelle. That was Michelle signing off. So any final comments, Stacy? Otherwise, we will sign off for What's Happening in Minnesota Real Estate Show number 20, where we talked about top few things that buyers can do to get their offer accepted, which we've talked about before, but it's another recap and maybe a couple tweaks to it. And then also helping the agents or helping the buyers. Maybe you're a future buyer and you're thinking, okay, yep, I'm going to use my friend. I'm going to use my part-time person that I work with. I'm going to use my uncle who's 75 years old and can't, you know, you need to get the scooter out to get him in the houses. I don't know what it is. And it's fine if you use those people. If your heart says you should use those people, then use them. That's fine. We all started somewhere, you know. So if you didn't help us in our infancy, we wouldn't have got to where we are. So I get it. But if it's just random people you don't for sure know and you find them somewhere, you really want to, talk to, somebody else that is better able to help you, because it is a tough market. And the biggest thing I would say about the tough market, Stacy, is obviously you're working with more buyers. I'm continuing to start to limit more of the buyers I work with, just because I have a lot of sellers I'm working with.
Yep.
And I'm finding I still get a ton of people online that are sellers that I don't know, that are like, I'm going to talk to whatever 3 agents that this website sent, or 2 agents, or they'll go online and they'll research me and they'll know more about me than I know about me by the time I get there, whatever people do nowadays. And almost all the time they are working with me. Like the only time they don't work with me normally is like, I don't know, December and January. I don't really know why that is. Like maybe maybe I'm not in the right mode then. But this time of year, I sit down with somebody and I'm like, yep, he knows what he's doing. He's been doing it a long time. I trust him. I'm going to work with them. And these are sellers. When most people would say it's automatic, you're going to list the house, it's going to go perfect, or it's going to go great, or it's going to go fine. You can get anybody to sell a house or whatever. They still want the person they think is going to do the best job, who's going to handle everything the best and has a lot of experience. So the sellers want that. And that's a seller's market, meaning they're choosing me when I'm going to all these appointments with people I don't know, and they're telling me they're talking to 2 or other 3 people. They're still choosing me. And the other people probably could do fine because it's a seller's market. So in a seller's market and you're buying, why would you go with somebody who's not as great at helping people as somebody who's better at helping people and does this more? So that's the reason we talked a lot about the buyer side today. Would you agree and be able to add to that, Stacy?
No, I agree. I don't really know if I have much to add to it, but no, I agree. It's difficult, and you just kind of got to be transparent with your buyers and honest with them and be available for them when they need to be helped, because it is a buyer's market or a seller's market. So the buyers need to get there as soon as they see the house to get in there. So just being available to take them out when they need to go out and work with their time frame.
All right. Well, sounds good. Thanks for the watchers, the listeners. Obviously, this will be on podcast mode. You might be listening to this 2 months later, and you can always reach out to us that way. Carstensen Team Remax Results. That's how you find us on Facebook, or probably Google us, and you'll find us that way. And a lot of you know us. So thanks again. Happy summer. And I'm sure we'll talk to you maybe a few weeks from now on this broadcast, but we're always available almost all the time, especially Stacy. She loves midnight texts. No, I'm just kidding.
I do. Midnight all the time. I might not hear it, but you can text me.
I know. I'm totally teasing. All right. Take care, everybody.
See ya.
Bye.